Hello and welcome to Young British and Muslim, and we've got a special guest for you in this episode. It's England cricket star Moeen Ali. He's got a new book out and he talked to me about growing up in a cricket-mad family from Birmingham, about his faith, his cricket, his teammates and his fans. I caught up with him at Worcester County Cricket Club as he was preparing to leave with the national team for a winter tour of Sri Lanka. Moeen, thanks very much indeed for joining us. And when you look out on this ground, it's not a bad place to be playing your county cricket, is it?
It's an amazing place. This is my favourite place. When things get tough with cricket or when I want to come back and have to play county, it's an amazing place. Especially when the sun's out. You got the cathedral, the ground, the people. I love it.
It's a really typically English sort of scene. The sort of the cricket ground here with the cathedral in the background, sun-kissed sort of trees.
It's actually one of the few remaining now. There's a few smaller clubs, as people would like to call them, that it looks like you're in England and it feels like you're in England, whereas a lot of the bigger stadiums are now modernised and you don't have that same feel like you're in England.
It feels quite intimate. I mean, when you're sort of just the last few overs, with the sort of supporters, it feels almost like a family affair.
Yeah, that's the one thing. When I moved here from Warwickshire, I knew that this place, the one thing that hit me was that it's more like a family and everyone's close, everyone knows each other, and it was perfect for how I wanted to be at the time and what I needed at the time. And I think it's made me and a lot of people into better people. I think you interact with the fans and you understand everybody and all that kind of stuff. Everyone's like one body almost. It's an amazing place.
In your book, which has just sort of come out, one of the themes that comes a lot in it is the fact that you see yourself first and foremost as a cricket player, as a person, as being English, and you feel very much part of the fabric of the English team as well as part of the English nation. Would that be a fair?
100%. Obviously you have your roots, and like my mother was born in Kashmir, Pakistan, and my dad was born here. My grandmother was English, and I don't really have much in Pakistan or in Kashmir personally. And we've lived all our lives here. Me, my brothers, my sister, we all feel very, very English. And I don't have that association with when people say back home and stuff like that. It's not something I really say a lot. And this is my home. Especially when I get into Birmingham, I feel like I'm at home.
What was it like then breaking into the England national team? I mean, you'd been in county cricket from quite a young age, coming through the ranks. But when you got to pull on that jersey for England, what did that feel like?
It was a weird sort of feeling. I was really excited, obviously, and you have those nerves of playing for England, and but also I was very content with myself as a person, and I knew I was ready to play from a cricketing point. But to play for England and to represent my country was an amazing feeling, and I knew from that point on nobody could ever take that away from me. And no matter how many games I play after this one particular game, I'm an England player, and I represented my country in something, and I was really proud of that and made me happy. Yeah.
Were you a bit sort of, every player obviously has ambition to shine as much as possible for their country, but for you it happened pretty quickly, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you always want to do it as soon as possible, but it almost worked out perfectly. I felt like when I played for England, I was ready to play, whereas when I was younger, I felt like I could play and stuff, but I knew at the time, knowing now, that I wasn't actually ready then, and when I played, I was ready to play. And again, it was an amazing feeling, and I was in a part of my life at the time where everything was going nicely, if that makes sense.
You talk in your book about how your parents really pushed you and your brothers to become professional sportsmen in a way that's unusual in Asian families.
My dad had this amazing passion for cricket, and he loved it himself, and I think he played it through me and my brothers. And
your brothers also became sort of county cricketers.
Yeah, my brother played for Worcester, Gloucestershire, played England A team. My cousin played for England, one test match at 20 ODIs. So it was...
Was he an obsessive cricket fan, your father?
Yeah, my father and his twin brother they are amazing cricket fans. Even to this day, they're crazy about cricket, and they coach every day of the week and stuff like that. But
did he leave his job to
He left his job
to help coach
to help coach us and just take us around as well. So one of the twins were working, and the other one would be the driver, and then they'll swap around probably every 6 months or whatever it is. But the investment they put in terms of that when we didn't have a lot of money. When I say investment, I don't mean the money, I mean the time, and the support. And that was probably the biggest thing.
So your father was giving up his life to make sure that you and your brother succeeded.
That's exactly what my father did. He gave up his life, his ambitions, his work, everything he had, he gave it up, knowing that somehow we were going to make it. And I think he must have obviously saw it as from a coaching point of view and what people used to say to him. And I think the drive that we also had in ourselves, and what he installed in us actually. And my mother, she did probably the hard work in terms of getting us on time, getting everything ready, our kit ready. And there's a lot of sacrificing in that as well. You know, my mum has to be up before everybody else to make sure everyone's ready, wake us up on time. And it's a graft, you know, and to pick us up, make sure all that kind of stuff is flowing. And she did probably most of the hard work, so my dad did probably the easier work.
We're used to, certainly in terms of football, a certain amount of abuse that, you know, black players or even, you know, Asian players or, you know, foreign players have got, you know, from the terraces. Did you ever come across that in the world of cricket?
You do come across it at times, whether in cricket or even just on the road at times, certain places you play in the country.
Islamophobic comments?
Yeah, just, you know, just comments in general, like people, I remember once I was in Blackpool and walking on like the sea and whatever, and someone was saying like, you're brave walking around looking like that, and just like it's comments. It wasn't a major comment or anything, but you know, you sometimes, I used to get angry with comments sometimes from the crowd or whatever, but then I learnt the reason. I actually, as I got older, I actually realised that sometimes this is why we don't drink. First of all, as a Muslims, and also I just learned to almost ignore it and thought.
You talk in your book about one specific incident in the 2015 Ashes series where you did face very specific Islamophobic and insulting abuse.
Oh, you know, we were playing and one of the opposition called me Osama, said, you know, take that Osama, and I personally, I couldn't believe what I'd heard and things like that. And time around, obviously the teammates also knew and stuff like that, and I had decided that we won't pursue it or take it any further because it was obviously my word against the person's word. And I just thought, I know what he said, he knew what he said, and everyone else knew us all around and stuff, and I just sort of moved on, and I knew that.
Have you played against him again?
Yeah, many times. Yeah. And obviously he denies it and stuff like that. But you know, that was for me. Okay, sometimes I understand. I don't understand, but I get people from the crowd which are under influence of alcohol, etc. But that's
another fellow professional.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, reading through a lot of the articles about you, I mean, obviously, you know, there's always sort of comments about your beard, you know, and even it's become a sort of a hashtag, isn't it? Friendly hashtag, or sort of the beard that must be feared. Does that get to you a bit? Is it friendly sort of banter on the whole, or does it sort of slightly annoy you?
It's friendly banter most of the time, I guess. It doesn't annoy me at all. I just sort of, I sort of try and not think too much about it. I mean, it's up to people if they want to talk about the beard and stuff, and you know, it's like when you're around people that you know or people that know you, they look past the beard and they get to know who I really am. And I'm sure, like when I look at my teammates in England and stuff, they look at me as not as somebody who's got a beard now. They look at me as a human being, yeah, as their friend, and sort of. And it's still a shame that sometimes, as people in general, not just non-Muslims, but Muslims do the same. We look at people and we judge them, or we think they have some sort of ideology behind it or something.
You travel all over the world. You're about to go off on a winter tour to Sri Lanka. I mean, when you're at sort of, you know, elite global sport, there's a lot of sort of, you know, partying, especially when you win things like the sort of the Ashes under dramatic series. There's always sort of people going off for a drink. There's champagne and beer and whatever else. How do you cope with that side of, you know, the socializing around your sports and teammates when you don't sort of drink? Is that?
I think my teammates have got used to me being around at times and then not being around it as well. Like obviously when we win a series and there's alcohol in the change rooms or guys are drinking and I'm getting my kit ready, they know that I will be the first one to leave at some stage. And while they're still kind of sober, I will stay around and talk and stuff. And as soon as
whilst you can still talk to them.
yeah, as soon as there's a certain song that comes on and they all start singing, that's
your exit point.
That's when I know it's my time to leave.
There's a lovely moment when you write in your book about when you won the Ashes sort of series and you went out onto the sort of the ground. Describe that to me, what that was like.
Yeah, I mean, so like you win the Ashes and you go out and all the crowd is all around, and first you go and celebrate and everyone, but there is a lovely moment where, and this happens all the time now, where, you know, like you win a series and champagne gets sprayed, and so the guys would allow me to take a picture with them first with the trophy, and then I walk off and then they spray. And I really appreciate that, and the guys know that. It's something that I never thought that would happen, but
they do it for you.
But they do it for me, and that makes me feel part of the team, and it also feels like a value to the players and the team and the country, and it's good.
What would you say to a young sort of, you know, British Muslim, you know, cricketer who's got ambitions? It might be a young boy, might be a young woman, you know, wants to sort of pursue this now, given your, you know, let's face it, quite sort of iconic role model sort of status. What would your advice be? What would your advice be to a young Moeen, you know, Ali looking back now, if you were 14?
Don't try and fit in, just be yourself. Don't ever think you have to act a certain way or do certain things with people that will get you into the team or you be one of the lads or something. Just be yourself and you will be respected a lot more. Whether it's you being a religious person or not a religious person, but if you're yourself and you're true to yourself, people will respect you a lot more, rather than trying to fit in, trying to do all that kind of you don't have to go out with people to feel like you're part of them, or you don't have to drink and stuff like that. I'm not somebody who's going to judge people, but that's how I would say.
And if they're worried about, you know, will I face sort of certain more obstacles or barriers because I'm a young British Muslim, what would your advice be there? In the game, in cricket, I mean.
End of the day, I always say to myself, and my dad's always drilled in me, that the performance is the most important thing. And when it comes to, for example, prayers and stuff like that, and when it's time to pray, I will pray and actually not be afraid of that. For example, like your teammates will actually make space for you. They respect you and they will accommodate you, and not just your teammates, even the management and whoever it is. So you can be yourself and no one will ever say anything as long as you're true to yourself.
Moeen, there was a really special moment for you, as you write in your book, about the reaction of the fans at that last sort of test when you know you got your hands on the little sort of famous urn of the Ashes. What was that like? I mean, what was it about how they reacted to you that meant so much?
I think the fact that I felt like I was part of them, if that makes sense. It's almost like the Barmy Army, for example. Wherever I go, no matter how bad I'm playing, they will always sing my name and always try and give me the encouragement and the support. And like walking into bat, I'll get a big cheer and things like that. And they're the things you can't beat. And when I got dropped early this summer, and I came back, and that's the biggest thing I missed. I missed the fans either cheering your name, singing your name, or you know, when you're on top of the side and they're encouraging you, you cannot beat that. And just the interaction in general, like you go, you take pictures with them, and they appreciate you, you appreciate them, and you feel very appreciated as a person.
And in terms of looking wider, as sort of, you know, I mean, you were 14 when 9/11 sort of happened. You were just really breaking through. Do you think, you know, it's harder being a young British Muslim than it was when you were younger, to try and sort of, you know, establish themselves, not just in sport, but it might be work, study, or whatever it is?
I don't know if the word harder is the right word. I think there are difficulties, and there are people out there that don't understand, who are ignorant, and I think the one thing from my point of view, I was never afraid to, if I felt like something was a truth, I would act upon it, or I was never afraid to show that out. First of all, I was a Muslim, and just to act like a Muslim. You're going to make mistakes. I never judge, or I try never to judge anybody, or you make mistakes, and you're going to, it's your relationship at the end of the day with, for example, my creator and stuff like that. And I don't know, I wouldn't say harder, I would say it can be tricky at times, but then there's always a way out. And that's something that I genuinely believe in terms of there's always a way, if you have the right intention or whatever people want to say, but I always feel like there's always a way, whatever you want to do, either any religion, whatever it is, pursue it if you feel like it's the truth.
That was Moeen Ali, a role model for his sport, talking to me at Worcester County Cricket Club. That's it for this edition, but do join me for the new series of Young British and Muslim.